Avilio Bruno is an aimless young man living in Chicago. One day, a letter arrives at his home addressed to Angelo Lagusa. 7 years ago, Avilio was still a young boy named Angelo Lagusa living in the town of Lawless. He is playing with his younger brother and his best friend, Cortio. As night approaches, Cortio leaves for home and passes by Avilio's father, Testa, coming home from work. Avilio and his brother loose hide in the closet to surprise their dad. Before they can surprise him, someone knocks at the door and threatens them. Avilio's mother begs the thugs to not kill them, that they just hit her. Upon seeing this, Luce runs out of the closet and hugs her mother. Testa tries to fight them but gets killed instead, along with his wife and son. Avilio was left in the closet watching everything. Avilio then sneaks out and runs away. One of the thugs takes aim at the running Avilio, but hesitates and his shot misses. Back at the present, prohibition is in effect, meaning liquor is illegal. Cortio was saving up for college by illegally selling liquor he made. His friend, the barkeeper Serrato, tries to convince him to sell his liquor to the Orco family, but he declines. After hearing that he declined, a thug from the Orco family enters and starts breaking Cortio's equipment. Avilio suddenly arrives and knocks the thug out, saving Cortio. Avilio then catches up with his friend. Avilio convinces him to sell his liquor to the families, and despite his hatred of the Mafia, Cortio agrees since Avilio is his childhood friend. The two go to a bar, but another group is trying to sell liquor too. However, after they taste Cortio's liquor, the other group wants to buy Cortio's liquor instead. Before any deals happen, a man named Fango from the Orco family enters looking for Nero Vanetti. He starts to threaten Cortio, but Avilio attacks him. A shootout takes place, but Cortio was able to create a makeshift firebomb, allowing them to escape. As they drive away, a guy from the other group introduces himself as Nero Vanetti. In a flashback, two of Nero's men, Vano and Tronco, are smuggling liquor. However, they get ambushed by the Orco family, killing Tronco and injuring Vano. At the present, Nero is with his men attending his sister's wedding to Ronaldo, a member of the Galassi family who rules the city of Chicago. Avilio and Cortio arrive to sell their liquor to Nero. Nero introduces Avilio to his right-hand man, Barbero. Don Vanetti calls his son Nero and tells him that they and the Orcos have to play nice as ordered by Galassia. Nero is angry at them since they have been stealing their business and just killed one of his men, but relents to his father's orders. However, when Nero tells his men that there will be a truce between the two families, Vano gets angry since they won't be able to get revenge for Tronco. To get past the order, Vano decides to hire Avilio to kill Fango for him. Avilio accepts the job to kill Fango. He then reveals to Cortio that he returned because he received an anonymous letter telling him the names of the people that killed his family. Avilio, Vano, and Serrato stake out Fango's place to kill him. Serrato distracts his guard, Serpent, with some liquor, allowing Avilio to sneak in. Unfortunately, Fango was able to escape, but they captured Serpent. Vano brings Serpent to Tronco's grave and kills him. However, Avilio reveals himself and kills Vano. The three men who killed his family are the current Don Vanetti named Vincent, Nero, and Vano. Avilio then returns to Nero and reports that Vano and Serpent killed each other. He leads Nero to the grave as proof, but Serpent's corpse is gone. Nero threatens to kill Avilio if he cannot find Serpent's body. Avilio goes to Cortio and asks him if he took the body, but Cortio denies it. Cortio and Avilio then go to Serrato, who was with them when they captured Serpent. Serrato then tells them that after seeing Vano kidnap Serpent, he followed them to the grave. However, he found Vano and Serpent already dead there. He then reported the body to Mr. Scusa, the head of the Federal Bureau of Prohibition, for a little money. Meanwhile, Fango reports to Don Orco that the Vanetti family tried to kill him and asks him for help in getting revenge. Don Orco denies his request since the Galassia family ordered them to keep the peace too. Fango angrily leaves the Orco family. Meanwhile, Mr. Scusa meets with Don Vanetti and tells him that he has Serpent's body. If the Orco family finds it, a war will start. Thus, he wants the Vanetti family to buy it from him. After he leaves, Ronaldo suggests that they should kill Nero since his men are causing the problem, but Don Vanetti declines. Instead, the Vanetti family decides to send Nero out of town, telling the Galassias that they tried to kill him but failed. At the same time, Avilio and Nero follow Serrato to where Mr. Scusa hid the body. However, Fango sees them and follows them. The two groups fight, forcing Nero's group to retreat and Fango finding Serpent's body. Freight, Nero's brother meets up with him and tells him that the family decided to send him out of Lawless. Nero agrees and Avilio volunteers to be his companion. Nero and Avilio drive around the countryside. Since they are low on money, they decide to go camping. At their camp, the two get drunk and Nero tells Avilio his first job, that of killing Testa's family. It turns out that Nero was the one who hesitated in killing Avilio. Avilio also learns that there is a fourth man that night. The next morning, the two go to a nearby town to resupply. Nero receives a call telling him that a hitman was sent out by the Orcos to kill him. Nero then goes to a bar to drink while Avilio goes out to buy supplies. However, the assassins successfully followed them and started beating up Nero. Avilio arrives and successfully distracts the assassin, letting Avilio and Nero escape. The two hide in a barn and barricade the door. Unfortunately, the assassin jumps inside a window and starts attacking the two. They successfully kill the assassin when the surprised barn owner shoots at the intruders in his barn. A few days later, Barbara, Nero's right-hand man, calls Nero and tells him that he can come home since there is a truce between Vanetti and Orco. Before entering Lawless, they first meet at Nero's hidden brewery, where they are trying to mass-produce Cortio's recipe liquor. Nero then heads back home to the Vanetti family. However, one of Nero's men warns them on time that they are about to be killed, and they are able to escape. Freight planned to kill him since that is one of the conditions of the truce. Don Vanetti scolds him, but Ronaldo defends him. The whole city is in lockdown looking for Nero and his men. Avilio decides to go to Fango and make a deal with him. If they help him, it will bring Don Orco to him, which Fango agrees to. The next day, Nero and Avilio go to meet with Don Orco. In exchange for his protection, they will give him Cortio's recipe liquor and Nero's brewery. They then lead him to their brewery as proof. At the brewery, one of Nero's men tries to kill Don Orco and leads his guards away. In the confusion, Avilio gets hold of a gun and shoots Nero. Don Orco now fully trusts Avilio, who offers him a toast. However, the liquor knocks Don Orco unconscious since it was a trap. They successfully deliver Don Orco to Fango. Fango kills him and triumphantly takes over the Orco family. With Fango now leading the Orco family, Nero starts selling liquor to him, which cuts into Vanetti's business. To fight this, Ronaldo orders Freight to eliminate Nero while telling the Vanetti family that Freight should be the next Don of the family. Thankfully, Fio, their sister, is able to convince the two brothers to talk, but it just increased the tension between the two. Nero leaves, but he tells Avilio that he wants to patch things up with Ronaldo so he can return to the Vanetti family. Not wanting the brotherly feud to end, Avilio convinces one of Nero's men that they need to kill Ronaldo since Nero's life will be in danger. They ambush his car, but only manage to injure him. Avilio then shoots Nero's henchman and leaves him to be found by Freight and Ronaldo. Freight thinks that Nero is really killing them, so the feud between the two escalates, causing more chaos and Lawless. Freight starts becoming more paranoid as chaos ensues. Seeing this, Ronaldo is finally ready to talk with Nero and uses Fio to get in touch with him. However, it's just a trap by Ronaldo, but Fio finds out and kills Ronaldo. Nero and Avilio then visit the paranoid Freight and tell him to stand down. Avilio takes Freight's gun and tells him to end it already. He then returns Freight's gun and leaves the two brothers alone. Freight finally builds up the courage and takes the gun to shoot Nero, forcing Nero to shoot first. Unbeknownst to the two, Avilio removed the bullets from Freight's gun. They then tell the Galacias that Freight was the one that killed Ronaldo, but Nero killed him to show his loyalty to the Galacias. Nero is now back with the Vanetti family. However, a new head of the Federal Bureau of Prohibition is transferred to Lawless, Mr. Delphi. He promises that he will end the rule of the Mafia in Lawless. Avilio and Cortio go to intimidate Mr. Delphi, but he just ignored them. Much to Cortio's surprise, Avilio suddenly starts threatening Mr. Delphi's family. Mr. Delphi doesn't budge, but instead shuts down multiple bars selling illegal liquor and starts investigating Nero's secret brewery. In retaliation, Nero orders his family to be hurt. Cortio reminds Avilio that he is only in the Mafia for revenge. However, Avilio just gives him money for his college fund and tells him to forget about him. Cortio throws back his money and yells at him that he is only with the Mafia himself because Avilio dragged him into it. Later, Mr. Delphi is saying goodbye to his family, who are about to leave. When his phone rang, he answered it, but an explosion outside suddenly rocks him. He runs outside and sees his car in a flaming ruin. Thankfully, his daughter and wife were actually in the car. Now afraid of the threat, Mr. Delphi ceases the investigation he was doing. Meanwhile, Fango receives a tip about Nero's location. Wanting to eliminate his rival, Fango sends out assassins to kill him, but Avilio successfully saves Nero's life. Since few people know Nero's location, the Vanetti family starts suspecting that there is a traitor among them. This turns out to be Cortio, who was trying to kill Nero because of his bad influence on Avilio. Fango is also trying to get on Cortio's good side so he would sell Fango his liquor recipe. Due to Mr. Delphi's compromised position, Mr. Scusa gets reinstated back as head of the Federal Bureau of Prohibition. The first thing he does is take Cortio's recipe, which was confiscated from Nero's brewery, and tries to sell it to Fango. Fango, in return, kills him. He then calls Cortio back and threatens to kill him since he already has the recipe and doesn't need Cortio anymore. However, he instead lets him go and calls the Vanetti family to tell them that Cortio was the traitor. In a fit of rage, Cortio kills him before he can make the call. Now having killed a man, Cortio tries to get out of town, but Vanetti goons capture him at the train station. With Fango gone, what's left of the Orco family had decided to join the Vanetti family. One of their guards reported that they saw Cortio leak Nero's schedule to Fango. They interrogate Cortio about who his accomplices are, but Cortio keeps his mouth shut. Avilio speaks with Serrato about what happened, and Serrato asks why Cortio betrayed Nero in the first place. Avilio suddenly remembered his last conversation with Cortio. It was when they had their argument, and Cortio told him that he was only in the Mafia because of Avilio. Feeling guilty, Avilio immediately heads to the Vanetti compound where Cortio is being tortured. However, before he can enter, gunshots go off and Cortio's guard, Nero's uncle named Ganza, stumbles out wounded. Ganzo tells them that a former Orco guard suddenly starts shooting at him and helped Cortio escape. That night, Avilio receives a call. It was Cortio telling him that he needs to kill Nero or his captors will kill him. The next day, Don Vanetti calls Nero to a meeting. Nero introduces his most trusted men to him, Barbaro and Avilio. Vanetti then announces that he is retiring due to his disease and has chosen Nero as the next Don. Nero then starts planning their next steps. He asks about the playhouse the Vanetti family is constructing and gives a mission to Avilio to advertise their liquor to the Galassi family. That night in celebration, Avilio and Nero get drunk. Avilio is tempted to kill Nero to save his friend, but Nero suddenly starts telling him that his uncle Ganzo was impressed by Avilio. He was the one who told Nero to introduce him to the Don. Avilio leaves and heads straight to Ganzo. He then tells Ganzo that he knows he was the fourth person that night and the one who sent the letter and captured Cortio. The next day, Avilio leaves for Chicago to advertise their liquor. At the boat, he meets with Cortio, who was in disguise. The two go to Avilio's old place where Cortio will stay from now on. Avilio then spent the rest of the week with his childhood friend, showing him around the city. In a flashback, Avilio and Ganzo made a deal. Avilio explains that he didn't kill Nero because he can kill him anytime, but his father, Don Vincent Vanetti, is much harder to get to. Meanwhile, Ganzo explains that Don Vanetti ordered him to trace Testa's son who escaped before, but instead of reporting Avilio to Don Vanetti, he sent the letter in hopes that he can control the city when the other leaders are dead. Thus, Avilio agrees to help Ganzo take control of the Vanetti in exchange for Cortio. In the present, Avilio returns to Lawless, successfully advertising their liquor to the Galassias. However, Barbaro was able to bribe a worker at the docks who recognized Cortio with Avilio. With this information, they start questioning Avilio. Out of nowhere, Cortio breaks into the room and surrenders himself. It turns out that Ganzo was able to kill him and tell him that Avilio's cover was blown. To earn his trust, Nero gives a gun to Avilio and orders him to kill Cortio. Cortio tells him that they will always be brothers at heart and accepts his death. Avilio shoots him and promises him that they will be together again soon. The next day, Don Galassia arrives with his right-hand man Striga for the grand opening of the Vanetti Playhouse. Meanwhile, Ganzo tells Avilio it's the perfect time to eliminate Vincent since he will attend with Don Galassia. Avilio also makes Ganzo add his name to the letter so he won't get suspected even if something goes wrong. The play opens and Avilio's plan goes off without a hitch. He is able to kill the guard on the Don's booth, but before he can enter the room, Barbaro, who never stops suspecting him, catches him in the act. Barbaro starts interrogating Avilio and finds the letter hidden in his pocket. Since Don Vincent is sickly and Nero doesn't want to kill Avilio, Barbaro decides to call for the third name on the list, Ganzo. Upon hearing what happened, Ganzo tells the men to call Nero since he's the Don and should decide, and goes to Barbaro. Ganzo then kills Barbaro and releases Avilio. When Nero arrives, Ganzo tells them that Avilio escapes and is headed to the booth opposite of the Dons to shoot at them. Unfortunately, this was false. Instead, Avilio knocks at the Don's booth and Don Galassia lets him in since they became friends when he delivered the liquor. However, instead of shooting Vincent, he shoots Don Galassia. Striga witnesses the Don's death and starts killing the Vanettis in revenge, starting with Ganzo. Nero also arrived just in time to catch his dad, who overexerted himself and dies. Outside, Galassia captures an unconscious Avilio. The next day, the Vanettis are getting massacred by the Galassias. Nero finds Avilio and successfully takes him from the Galassias. With his family dead, Nero escapes Lawless with Avilio in tow. Nero asks him why he never killed him, but Avilio just answers that he wanted Nero to feel the pain of losing everything. Nero doesn't know where to go, but Avilio just points him toward the ocean. They spend the next few days traveling together. When they reach the ocean, the two walk along the beach. Avilio then tells Nero that he actually didn't kill him because he didn't want to. Nero then points his gun at Avilio. Finally, a gunshot is heard and Nero drives back. All that's left at the beach is their footsteps, slowly getting erased by the sea.